My dinner's getting cold. No.
Right? I didn't even eat yet.
Quiet, you.
All right, here we go. We continue our series, Marvel Monday. We are watching all 23 MCU movies in the order they were released. Here with me is Amy Goldman, fellow newbie, and Joel Fenster, who is an oldie. Mark Gardner is not joining us today. He did not say why. I think it's something with the CIA, quite frankly.
He's at a second night Passover Seder.
Is he? Oh, okay. And joining us again is Annie King, who just finished her Pesach, and Nick Prescott, aka Nick the Brit, who just got shot up at the hospital with the COVID vaccine, of course. All right, and we've all seen the movie this week. This week we are in MCU number 13, which is Captain America Civil War from 2016, the first chapter in phase 3 of the MCU. And this chapter is a very long chapter. There's like 9 movies in this chapter, right? And so Captain America Civil War, or as I'm calling it, and a lot of other people have as well, Avengers 2.5.
Sure.
Because there's 10 Avengers in this movie.
Well, just so you know, this is actually based off of a comic book miniseries that Marvel did in 2006. That was
Called
obviously
Civil
just
War.
called Civil War.
Right.
That involved the entire Marvel universe. So even like the characters that the MCU didn't have at the time, the X-Men, the Fantastic Four, they're all involved in this thing. And I said all this just to bring up one bit of trivia, is that in the comic books, the event that causes the Sokovia Accords, it's called something else in the comic books, is the destruction of Stamford, Connecticut.
No! Oh my God, that's right.
Damn it, we missed it.
Yeah.
So what prompted the Russo brothers to choose this storyline when it's an Avengers storyline, really?
Because it's a good way of, you can tell that Kevin Feige and the producers were all pulling things in this direction to set up a conflict between Tony Stark and Captain America and the way they handle things.
Right.
So this was a very easy storyline that they could kind of take from the comic books and readapt it in such a way. Yes, there are a bazillion characters in the movie, but there's like 7 bazillion in the comic book. So it's really a narrowed down version that really works very well. So.
All righty. So we start as always with last week's after credit sequence. Cap and Falcon have Bucky in captivity, and Falcon says, "I know a guy." Who is he referring to?
Ant-Man.
Yeah.
Ant-Man. All right. Now, the Avengers finally, after 13 movies, to realize that there's collateral damage and people are getting killed. But here's the thing. I'm sure the next time they're going to be really careful and try not to kill innocent people. So
Yeah.
we're going to be
course.
good. It's not going to happen again, right? We're all
Right.
good now.
Exactly.
And I love that they addressed it, because if you'll remember, I've said this like at least 3 or 4 times, that they just killed thousands of people and destroy cities.
Yeah.
Although admittedly, those type of events in the MCU seem to be minor compared to what's going on in the DC movies.
Yeah.
I'll give you that. What little I know.
Okay, so William Hurt asks, do you know where Thor and Hulk are right now? No, because Bill, this is not an Avengers movie.
Right.
So you should have known that. And then I love when they're having the battle, and War Machine took so long to get there. I think they were thinking about replacing him with Terrence Howard. Like, it took him so long to actually show up. And okay, brilliant sequence. Cap trying to hold the helicopter.
Oh my
That
God.
was, it really was brilliant. And Tom Holland.
For any particular reason, Frank?
Maybe a few muscles were there.
I couldn't believe his muscles. My God. But just the whole scene was
Yeah, no,
incredible.
it was
Then when I
very
read the
fun.
trivia after, it was a thing. Because I just remember watching like, oh, this
It
is
was
great.
a thing? What do you mean it was a thing?
There were a lot of comments about it in the trivia, how much people love that scene.
Well, I think it's a good way of showing off just how strong the super soldier serum has made Captain America.
Yeah.
So.
And I felt like you could really feel it. I felt like it was real. Like he
Yeah.
was really holding on and those muscles were pumping.
And that's why.
Yeah.
Okay. And Tom Holland is the perfect Spider-Man. How great was he? He was so cute and young and so anxious to be a part of it. It was adorable.
Yeah.
And British.
And
British.
And British. Is he a Brit too?
Yeah.
They're taking over. And of course, Paul Rudd is awesome.
Oh,
Yeah.
And I cracked up when he got big and then he made that face. Cracked me up. Cracked me up. And so in an hour and a half after the movie starts, we get to the actual Civil War.
Mhm.
And which I must say, I kept having to remind myself who was on whose side.
oh yeah.
Like, oh, they're on the Iron Man side. No, it should have been like a game of basketball. It should have been shirts versus skins. Or all of them were in blue or all of them were in red. So we
Yeah.
would know who was on which side.
Well,
Didn't it get confusing?
but the thing is, I think the fact that they weren't clearly visible as two separate teams to the viewer, I think is one way of underlining the fact that they've chosen to align with one side or the other, but they all have their own internal conflicts. And it's particularly illustrated when Hawkeye and Natasha are fighting. You can see that they're like, okay, we're kind of playing along here, but we're not really completely sold on either side right now. We just really wish these guys would kiss and make up.
Yeah, and we like a good fight, so we're here.
Well, but
Yeah.
not just that. If you really think about it, for the most part, Captain America's side is filled with all of the non-superpowered heroes, and Iron Man's side has, anybody who's been enhanced by technologies or has legitimate superpowers, like Vision. So you can almost get that shirts and skins feel from it. It's not exact because obviously Scarlet Witch is on Cap's side, but I think the teams are put together nicely.
But yet, like Natasha, who's on Iron Man's side, actually helps out Cap. Like,
Yeah.
in between, yeah.
Yeah, she's totally like, all right, I'll let you go. All right, so, and then Bucky says to Black Panther, I did not kill your father. And Black Panther says, then why did you run? Hello, because you were chasing me in a scary cat suit. I think I would run from you too. With the and
How did it go,
Chadwick was
Frank?
great. What?
How did it go, Frank?
And Chadwick was great too. And I said this to Amy before. I had seen the Black Panther movie, but I did not. I mean, there was a flashback to the backstory, but seeing it actually happen, totally made me go, oh.
I think that the introduction to Black Panther in this movie is really well done because you're not getting the whole origin for him, but you're getting just enough info to understand who he is, where he comes from, and how he's going to fit in from here on out.
Yeah, I love that they integrated it. Even a few movies ago, they were talking about Wakanda like it was a real place.
Exactly. I mean, they've dropped enough hints that it made it a lot easier to just cram him into a movie that technically is already crammed with things, and it doesn't feel like it's been crammed with things. So
Yeah, well, and they've mentioned all the vibranium and, throughout the few last movies too.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I had mentioned a week or two ago how shocked I was to first hear about Wakanda. I had no idea it existed before the movie. And now, of course, I know that he's been around for 50 years.
right.
And so when they're having the battle between the two factions, the Jets and the Sharks, why didn't they just destroy the jet to stop them from leaving? They could have just destroyed the jet and then it would have been over. Just saying. And this is the other thing. Okay, so everybody has a headset where they're talking to each other, right? So then Team A could hear what Team B was saying. Where they all go, oh, I'm on frequency 7. Turn
Well,
your
yeah,
thing.
probably.
Yeah, I mean, you and I have our own little connection, and Nick and Annie and Joel have theirs.
I thought they were
Totally different.
all together. They could all.
No,
hear
no,
each other.
they're
So it's
probably
like
on
a
different.
walkie-talkie on
Yeah.
channel 2 tonight.
Different modem.
Exactly.
So what did Cap mean at the end when he said to Stark, "By not telling you about your parents, I was sparing you, but I was really sparing myself"? What did that mean? What did he mean?
I think what he meant is that,
Sparing myself having to tell you?
yeah, that he didn't want to have to be the one to tell Tony Stark that his parents were actually murdered,
Like
specifically
every
by,
comic book hero's parents.
right. Well, yeah, that's all
That
I
makes
think it
sense.
is.
And there's some parallels when he has the conversation with Sharon, and Sharon's like, they have the discussion about whether they talk to Peggy about who Sharon really is,
Right.
and it becomes this whole thing of not wanting to burden him with yet another lie.
Wait, was I the only one who thought Cap kissing Sharon was a little creepy?
Um,
I
Because
thought they
it
were
could-
building up
it could
to it
be-
from the moment we met her.
Couldn't she be his daughter somehow?
No, because Peggy's not her mother. Peggy's her aunt.
Ew. So they relate. They could be related somehow. Right.
So-
It's
Those
the whole
I
thing
thought that.
where,
So theoretically, she could be his niece, maybe.
right.
but it could be the whole thing where she was like, she didn't want to have the baby out of wedlock, so she gave it to her sister and
No.
said, "You raise my
No,
baby."
No.
Joel's like, no.
No.
Wrong.
No. This is
Wrong.
the MCU, not Kentucky.
Right.
And that's really all I have to say about it. I did enjoy it. I'm still going 3 stars. I don't feel it was that great that I would go to 3.5. But again, I have to say, I know I've said this, but I just love that we're watching them all in order, because it really does make all the other parts of it resonate. Because I've seen like a few out of order, and they weren't as interesting to me as watching them all together. It's great. So 3 stars for me. What about you, Nick the Brit?
3.5. Yeah, it's weird. It's one that I loved when I first saw it, and then a few times I rewatched it. I didn't appreciate it quite as much, but actually doing the rewatch in order, I pick up more. But I'm also picking up certain elements from the later movies as well. That's the benefit of doing the rewatch, having watched the later ones as well,
Right,
because
you
you
know where
start
it's
to tie
going.
more things in. Yeah,
Right, you know where it's going. We have no idea.
yeah.
That's the end of that.
Yeah, 3.5. There's not enough Loki.
You usually pontificate. All right, Annie, what you got?
I have 3.5, and I thought it was great just seeing everybody together, and I like the way they brought Spider-Man in. That I want to know, how did Tony Stark know about him, though? Where was it coming from?
He's Tony Stark. He knows everything. And also,
Yeah,
bearing in mind what this weekend is, I think we should pronounce it Spider-Man.
You know, every time we have ever said Spider-Man, I think I want to just call him Spider-Man.
There is a hyphen between Spider and Man.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
No,
it's not Spider-Man.
Spider-Man is actually the accountant that does Tony Stark's taxes.
So
Goldman
Joe,
and
Joe,
Spider-Man.
what's your take on it? How does Tony Stark?
How does
know
Tony
about
Stark
it?
know? I'm assuming
He
based on
funded
some
all
of
the projects, but Spider-Man was like, I don't have a project.
right. Well, based on the fact that Tony Stark was showing Spider-Man, you got it in my head, was showing Peter Parker the videos that he found on YouTube. My guess is that either Stark
Somebody-
found them or somebody sent
Somebody
them to
did
him
research.
saying, yeah,
Yeah.
that's the research.
Yeah.
Jarvis isn't oh, you're not supposed to be talking to you. Sorry, my wife's in the background feeding stuff into my ear. She
Come
just
on in,
said-
Natasha.
Shouldn't she be on your headset?
Yeah, she should be on my headset. She just piped in, shouldn't Friday be watching everything at this point, and Friday could be feeding him the information? So
Oh,
I think
okay.
I think she probably is.
And why did Gwyneth Paltrow not want to do the movie again?
Because she's
She's
Gwyneth Paltrow.
Yeah, she's like, if I don't have a few lines,
She was busy creating goop. I'm not really sure.
she was all goopy that day.
Yeah.
And candles that smell like, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
Like,
And plus, think about it. If Pepper Potts was in the movie, that's
yeah,
one
who
more
needs one more?
character.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And is Robert Downey Jr. like done with Iron Man movies? He's like,
Well, it's not necessarily that he's done with the Iron Man movies. I think they had to pay him a crap ton of money to be in this, and then
sure.
once they wrote the script, they had to beef up the part to get him to be in it. So I think at this point he's really just part of the Avengers, and that's the end of it. So with one or two exceptions.
He's got enough money now.
I hope he comes back a lot because I love him. I love the suit. I love the character.
We have what, 10 more movies to go? You'll see him a few more times.
Okay.
So, yeah, so to me, it was more, and it made me think of Spock's quote. What is it?
The needs of the many.
The needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few, which is, I feel like, what Captain America says. Like, there are, going to be, like, we need to do this stuff.
Right.
And, and a lot of it was that versus Tony's guilt over a lot of things, so, but I thought it was a good story, and I really do enjoy seeing them all together.
And
Yeah.
the whole theory of Vision that if the superheroes weren't there, then there wouldn't be the need for them. But I think that's like a chicken and egg thing, isn't it? Because
Yes.
they only were created because there was a need. And yes, the need became greater because they were there, but they were needed, right? Okay.
Yeah.
And he's a little creepy too.
Who?
Oh, I like him.
Oh, Vision?
Yeah, but yeah.
Well, he's not human.
All right, Joel, are you a human?
Am I human? I don't know. Depends on the day of the week. I really like the movie. It's a lot of fun. I love that it brings everybody together. One of the things that I'm really loving about doing the rewatching as we're currently doing it, and I think I mentioned it either last week or the week before, is that our timing seems to be hitting the Disney Plus TV shows at the right time. So that, like, when we watched Age of Ultron a couple of weeks ago, WandaVision just ended. And now Falcon and the Winter Soldier is 2 episodes in, and there's a lot of connections to them coming out of this movie.
Yeah, but the Winter Soldier is a popsicle right now.
Well, yeah, as far as you're concerned, but
Oh.
he's in the title. Something has to happen to him.
Sure.
But it's nice to have that, to be going back and saying, oh, okay, this is coming from here, and it's feeding into this. And to see that the TV shows on Disney Plus are not just kind of like the ones that were on ABC, where it's kind of an integrated afterthought of sorts that just is nebulously over here. These are as interconnected as any of the movies are. And this is a good setup for everything that's coming down the pike in the movies and the shows.
So in 10 more movies, we're going to have to watch WandaVision?
Yeah, pretty much.
Oh, yeah.
You
And
should.
then-
We
and then-
should actually, I checked this out on the calendar because Disney Plus is now dropping Black Widow in July on the same day as it's going into the theaters. You have to pay extra for it, but if you think about what you're paying if you go to the theaters, it might be cheaper at home anyway. But there's enough time. There's about a month.
$30.
Well, how much do you pay to go to the movies?
Not $30.
You and well, all right, you're a senior. If I take my
We
kids
just
to the
went
movies,
to see The Father, and it
Uh-huh.
was $13 for the two of us.
okay,
Oh my
and did you buy
God.
popcorn?
We did buy $14 of popcorn, yeah.
Okay, and
Yeah.
did you pay for parking?
No,
Okay, so if I go to the movies
$27.
with my kids and my wife, it's $30 before we walk in the door.
sure.
So anyway, there's enough time to cram at least those 2 series in between Far From Home and Black Widow. Just saying that.
Annie, your door just weirdly opened, like a
That's the
ghost.
dog just walked in.
Ah,
Yeah.
Or is it,
It's
Is
a
Elijah?
poltergeist.
Elijah showed up late.
right, Elijah?
Elijah,
Yeah, Papa?
Elijah, Papa. Hi, Danny.
I see a husband too.
Yeah.
Okay, so Joel, your ranking is what on this
3.5
one?
stars.
I think I'm going to be the only one not as enthusiastic. And I have to say, it's probably because I'm not that big a fan of this genre, I think. And
I'm not either.
and more, I think I don't have the it's not resonating for me like people who've already seen all of it already. Amy. You're last. Oh wait, I'll read Mark. Wait, I'll read Mark
yeah, yeah.
Sentes. He said, like I said a few weeks ago, I definitely blended parts of Winter Soldier and Civil War together. Really enjoying rewatching movies in order and close together to separate everything. Wow.
Yeah, that sounds like.
Love Daniel Bruhl and anything he's in, even if he's a dick in this, but he's not 100% an asshole. Enjoyed the intro of Spidey and Black Panther. I'm a huge Spider-Man fan, and Tom Holland is the best Spider-Man to date. Loved all the action, but found the many jaunts around the world a bit confusing. Yeah, they did go to a lot of places, but it was really cute when it came up Queens. And we're all like,
It is a bit.
we know who lives in Queens.
It is a bit
Pirates
confusing in a
Hill.
few spots.
What?
It is a bit confusing in a few spots because obviously Cap and Sharon and Sam and Natasha are in London at Peggy's funeral, and
I thought
then
Natasha was in your ear.
yeah, no, that's the other Natasha.
Oh,
And then Natasha goes to Bucharest for the Sokovia Accord signing.
shouldn't
But
that
then-
be?
oh, Vienna,
shouldn't that
sorry,
wait,
Vienna.
Joel? Shouldn't that be Bucky arrest?
Yes, no, sorry. She went to Vienna, but then Cap and Sam and Sharon also wind up there after the explosion. So it's kind of like who's where, when, and why. So
I
and
just,
then Bucky's
just
in
it's
Bucharest
like
all the time.
we already have 15 characters, main characters,
Right.
and now they bring in two big major main characters, and then everybody else is like, oh, okay. Don Cheadle probably showed up for one day to film his little things in his thing. He's like,
Oh no,
But-
he's actually in the suit all the time. Whenever you see it flying around, that's him.
I would have been like, no, no thanks. I'll do this. Call me in for a day. I'll do this.
Yeah. I think he was filming House of Lies at the same time, though. So
Yeah.
he did have a pretty busy schedule.
Yeah. They should have gotten Terrence Howard back.
Yeah.
All right, Amy.
I just wanted to go last because I was very curious to see what everybody else thought of it. But first, I'll just say my little bullet points. I loved I Know a Guy, which you mentioned. I thought the de-aging of Robert Downey Jr. was fabulous. I think that's become like a really good, it looks really good. I thought it looked
Yeah.
great.
It was less than zero, Robert Downey Jr.
Yeah. When the flying car becomes big and War Machine, you know, the little car, and then they shoot and becomes big, and War Machine yells, "Oh, come on!" That was hilarious. I love the Cap and Spidey Brooklyn Queens connection, of course. Ant-Man getting huge was incredible. I never expected that. And all of their reactions was fabulous. Again, fabulous. And I love
And then
the
he was
line-
like moving like in slow motion. Like,
oh my God. And then he like kicked the plane. It was just great. I love the line, "I'm gonna go Mark Furman on your ass." I never would have guessed that it was Bucky who killed Tony's parents, even though you see the whole car thing at the beginning. I never put it together. So for me, it was like, oh my God. And the same kind of situation. I love the realization that Zemo did all of this to create a civil war so they destroy each other.
Yeah.
Going into the movie, I didn't even know who the civil war was between. It
Right.
took me 90 minutes to figure that one out.
Because that's when they first got to the Civil War.
Right.
90 minutes into the movie.
I didn't find the movie that confusing. You know, I find every one of these movies confusing. I didn't really find it that confusing. The only thing that really bothered me was that Iron Man still wanted to kill Winter Soldier, knowing he was innocent and brainwashed and had absolutely no choice. I would have been like, "Oh, dude, I'm so sorry. Let's hug it out or something."
Well, you're
That
not an
was
egomaniac like Tony Stark.
Yeah, I mean the rage. Yeah, the rage, obviously.
Yeah. So, so I'm going to give it 3 3/4 stars.
Wow.
Yeah.
Loved it. And like Nick said, he liked it the most the first time he saw it. Every moment of the movie, I was like, Oh my God, I love it. I love it. I love it. I loved it. I loved all the characters. I loved Ant-Man coming back. I loved Spider-Man being in. I loved it.
All right.
We've ruined Spider-Man for you,
Yeah, I
haven't we,
know.
Joel?
I've been wanting to say Spider-Man since day one.
Well, Amy, and you didn't notice, but you just referred to Tony Stark's character as Iron Man.
Yeah.
We did. Iron Man. And I'm sorry I didn't point it out before, but Nick has the perfect illustration for Civil War behind him. So that's a Civil War right there.
Sure.
All right, so now can we move on to the post-credit sequence?
Sure.
Yes, okay. We see an armless Bucky get frozen until he is right in the head, and he's in Wakanda. That's beautiful. So that doesn't really need an explanation, right?
Nope.
Anybody? And then Spider-Man has this photo thing on the ceiling of, I don't know, logo of the Spider-Man. Does that mean we are getting a Spider-Man movie? Isn't that
Yes.
coming up somewhere?
In
Yeah.
3 weeks, I think.
It's a useful sneak peek to
To some new thing that comes
some new
out.
thing, and part of his relationship with Tony Stark.
Mm.
And we have the Russo brothers to thank for Tom Holland, because they were the ones who insisted they get an actual teenager
Yes.
to play Spider-Man, since that is what he actually is. And he really is terrific. He really is. All right, next week, Joel is sitting in the room where it happens.
Oh, right. Yes.
Doctor Strange, which is, of course, streaming on Disney Plus. And we all love a good origin story. So this will be
Yeah.
a new.
And I know nothing about this guy.
Okay.
Nothing.
And-
But one more thing I wanted to add before we go was, if any of you watch the extras, I always watch the gag reel, and the gag reel was cute. But then did you see that Tiki Wakiki did a 3-minute documentary on why Thor wasn't in
Yes.
this movie?
Yes.
Frank, Annie, if you guys didn't see it, Nick, it is adorable. It's right there in Disney. Go to the extras.
Right,
It's just
because
3 minutes why he wasn't in it. Oh my God. it was
because
like-
Tiki Wakiki is doing the next Thor movie. Is that it?
Yes.
Yeah.
But it's I had forgotten about that, but I'd seen it a while ago, and it is very funny.
It's great. He
Alright.
moves to Australia and has a roommate that he just
Yeah.
annoys the shit out of. So cute. And like I said, it's only 3 minutes.
All right. We'll
And in
take
the
it.
next movie, we also get our second Sherlock Holmes.
Well, that Sherlock Holmes is Dr.
Martin
Watson
Freeman.
was in this movie.
Yeah,
Yes,
Martin
and that
Freeman.
Sherlock's Watson was just in this one, and
Oh,
then
yeah,
we
yeah.
and then
Right.
we got Robert Downey Jr.'s Dr. Watson
In Captain
about-
Marvel. Yeah.
in
Oh,
a
okay.
month or
So
so.
we're doing this.
Right.
Right.
Eventually, we'll get Sherlock Holmes and Dr. Watson in the MCU. So
In the
Oh, wow.
same movie?
yes. No,
Oh, okay.
I'm kidding.
All right. Thank you all for being here. We will reconvene next week. Same bat time, same bat channel.
There are no